come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the lifers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Troop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the heart of our homes. You are joining us today as we are exploring Braving the Wilderness, a summer spiritual caravan. Today, you'll hear a reflection from Michael Kelley, who explores the emotional and spiritual benefits of paying attention to our breath. You'll hear a spiritual journey story from new member Robert Hawley. We'll enjoy music from Chris Maldonado, our music director. You heard a little bit already from one of our newcomers, Simon J. So as we get ready to spend this time together on Zoom, just a reminder that you'll be muted for most of the service. That just helps us hear the music and the speakers a little bit better. Please do connect with one another in the chat box. That's a great way to reach out to one another in love and care. And also a reminder to be gentle in the language that you use in the chat box. Taryn Sindaband is our chat box greeter today. Thank you so much, Taryn. And if we have any kind of tech mishaps, we at Troop just view that as a sign from the universe that we need to take a moment and pause and breathe in together. So now, as much as you can, turn away from any Sunday morning distractions that you may have. Turn away from the newspaper, lay down your phone, leave the dishes where they are in the sink, and turn toward each other and enjoy this time and space we've set aside for our ongoing connections and for deepening our own emotional and spiritual lives. Last week, I'm so grateful to Clara Alberto, who reminded us that Troop sits on Tongva land. And we acknowledge that again this morning. And as we do so, we hope that that knowledge increases our own desires to pursue compassion, equity, and justice in the world. Now come with me and move over the threshold into our Troop spiritual space. This morning, Simon J. shares words for our chalice lighting. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our home chalices in a spirit of love, hope, and peace. Our breath, so much a part of us, comes to most without much thought. This morning, open your awareness to your breath. As you breathe in, imagine a sense of peace and well-being settled around you. As you breathe out, imagine you are sending our big universalist love out into the world. May you all know beauty, connection, love, and compassion.
Thank you. And now let's spend a few minutes and officially welcome each other in using the chat box. And I'll share some of those greetings out loud for people who are on the phone or just maybe not even able to see the chat box this morning. Pat and Emmett say greetings and good morning to everyone. David Drum is enjoying a mild and sunny California morning. Lynn greets us. No, Hans Rosenberger is here and says, good morning, y'all. Great to be with you. Susan is sending peace and love. Sky Hannah shares that seeing everyone's faces on Sunday feels like opening flower blooms. Oh, how great. Isn't it though? Steve's still waking up. Totally fair. Simon is sending love to all. Melanie says, hey, one and all. Oh, hope you're getting out to see the comet right after sunset. Alethea wishes us a good weekend. Aaron never knows quite what to say in these, but glad to be here. Well, amen to that, Aaron. Thank you for being honest. Diane says it's great to see us. Diane's camera's not working, but sending big hellos. Oh, and Michael is saying greetings to Minnesota. We have at least one guest here today from Minnesota. And may the wilderness and peace be with us all. I think that might be William Gaskill. And it's great to have you here. We were just lifting up your name at church a couple of days ago. David's glad to be back, and Rachel, Dave, and Ripley share that it makes them smile to be here. It does me too. And we'll please keep using the chat box to greet one another. If you haven't done so already, just want to scroll through the thumbnail videos of your friends and neighbors who have gathered here today and just send them your own silent wish or blessing of love, health, and well-being. We turn now to share some words that bind us together each week as the Troop community, and it's our shared words, our promise to our planet. And as those come up on the screen, feel free to unmute yourself for this moment as we share the promise to our planet together. As members
of the family of living beings on Earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. With hearts filled with love for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, to nurture the well-being of all life on the planet itself.
Amen and thank you. So as part of our summer spiritual caravan, we've invited new members at Troop to share their own spiritual journey story. And part of that is a way for us to get to know them a little bit. And like with any story, in the process of us listening, it helps us understand our own selves and our own journey a little bit more. And this morning we turn toward Robert Hawley, who will offer his spiritual journey reflection.
Okay, well, thank you so much for asking me this morning. Let me just do this way. There we go, I'm unmuted. All right. My first introduction to Unitarian Universalism was on Christmas Eve in 1997. My then longtime companion, now husband, and I had moved to Boston from the capital of New York State earlier that year, knowing hardly a soul. Upon arriving in the Bay State, Harlow had joined the Gay Men's Chorus, and that Christmas Eve was his first concert with the group. Harlow went in early. I stood in line outdoors in the bitter cold and got one of the last few remaining seats on the main floor for the 7 o'clock service. I'd never been to a Unitarian Universalist church before, and I had no idea of what to expect. But I figured that after having spent 30 minutes freezing my tail end off, it would at least be warm and the music ought to be good. Arlington Street is one of the great public buildings in Boston, modeled after St. Martin's in the Fields in London. It's a huge space in a forest of great white Corinthian columns, built before the Civil War, and has a huge collection of Tiffany windows. It is truly awesome. There was a grand procession to the music from a thundering pipe organ. The senior minister's homily soared, and then the Gay Men's Chorus sang. And there were singing drag queens and candles in church on Christmas Eve. I can remember saying to myself at the time, who are these people and what is going on here? Believe me when I say it was not like any church service I had ever attended. It was purely joyous. Over the next few years, we attended from time to time, but generally avoided coffee hour altogether. Neither of us had ever been much in the way of joiners, and we certainly were not devout. As an aside, Harlow and I had met in New York City and lived there during the early 1980s, just as what would become the AIDS pandemic was gaining foothold. Our friends were dying all around us, and the Catholic cardinal used a bullhorn on the steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral every Sunday morning to tell us all that we were going to hell just because of who we chose to love. So joining a church, any church, was simply out of the question for a very, very long time. Excuse me. After we had been settled in Boston for about 5 years, pardon me. After we had been settled in Boston for about 5 years, life, as it has a way of doing, took an abrupt turn and handed me more than I could chew, let alone digest. I'll spare you the details, but suffice to say, I found myself at a hospital in an alcohol detox unit in the spring of 2002. I had pretty much ruined my career, my health, most of my friendships, and had very nearly destroyed my relationship of more than 20 years. I believe the doctors and the nurses there saved my life. One of the first things I remember hearing at the AA meetings I began attending after I was discharged many days later was that the quality of my sobriety, and thus the quality of my life, would depend upon the strength of my spiritual condition. My heart sank. What spiritual condition? I asked myself. I had no idea what this meant, but figured I had better get busy trying to find out. So longing for something better, both Harlow and I went through membership classes and joined ASC later that year. 2 years after that, things had improved enough that I was healthier and I was beginning to feel as though I might have a spirit after all. So much so, in fact, that we were married in that same sanctuary when marriage equality came to Massachusetts in 2004. Over the next 14 years, we became increasingly involved with volunteering for the church, increasing our pledge each year when we could, and over time, we grew to feel very much a part of something bigger than us. And we came to make deep friendships, which will be with us for the rest of our lives. When we decided to retire and to move to Los Angeles to escape the cold in 2018, leaving that community was the hardest part of saying goodbye to our home in Boston. Once here, we knew we had to find a spiritual home. Enter Troop Church. For me, this is the training facility, if you will, where I can go to work to grow my spirit, be of service to others, and thereby have a chance at living a useful and productive life. There's a wonderful passage in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that talks about sobriety as opening a door to a new life. It tells us that the key to the door is willingness, and that over the doorway, there is an inscription that reads, "This is the way to a faith that works." I've often thought that ought to be inscribed over the doorway of every Unitarian Universalist church. At least, that's how it happened for me. Thanks for having us.
Robert, thank you for that moving spiritual journey reflection. I invite you all to just kind of breathe into the words and the experience that was shared by Robert. And some of you are putting your thanks in the chat. Some of you have shared a little bit that you've had similar types of experiences with Unitarian Universalism, opening up your heart and mind and body into a spiritual experience that you hadn't really known was possible before. As we think about Robert's words, as we think about our own continuing journeys into lives of meaning and purpose, into a faith that works for us and works for the world. We hear one of my favorite UU hymns done so beautifully by Chris Maldonado. It's Meditation on Breathing. And for those of you who want to, please stay muted, but you can put your hand on your heart and be mindful of your breath and sing along as we hear Meditation on Breathing performed by Chris.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Breathing in peace, breathing out love. The world is so in need of that type of intention. And this weekend, the world lost one of the great civil rights heroes. John Lewis died. And I share one quote from him that touched my heart. He said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a year, a lifetime. It is a struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good, necessary trouble." And I know lots of you are finding ways to get into that good and necessary trouble these days. And just as necessary as it is to get into trouble, it is necessary to tend to our hearts and minds, our spirits, so that we can continue that struggle of a lifetime. So I invite you to gently close your eyes if that feels right for you, and put your hand on your heart again. And breath of life, we ask that you fill those of us gathered here today on Zoom with a sense of love and peace and purpose. We ask that we be filled with those things to such an extent and such an abundance that they exude out of us when we are out in the world, whether it's speaking with a neighbor, moving about our days, when we are engaging with the world. We know that there are times when our hearts don't feel like they're filled with abundance, but our hearts are heavy and our hearts can get tired. And our hearts and minds and bodies can really be in need of healing. And if that is you today, we ask that the spirit and breath of life move in and around you, soothing you with this sense of community, with this sense of a faith that works. May you feel embraced by the love that is around us. Amen. And for in this moment, if there is someone in your life who is in need of extra healing and extra loving energy, you're invited to put their name in the chat box, and I'll lift up those names so we can carry them in our hearts in the next days to come. Terry lifts up Nair's mom. Richard Maison needs our energy. We send our love to Hector, to Rachel Wasserman, Mary Alvarez, Andriana's grandmother. We send our loving energy to Mark. We send love and healing energy to Joe, Lisa, and John. We send our collective blessings to Nick Wu, to Lila and Sergio. You heard those names said. If you're able to just scroll back up through the chat and take a look at those names again, send your intention and care and healing energy to those names, and also to those beloved troopers who have those people in their lives and who asked us to hold them in our thoughts. May all of them know a sense of abundant spirit, care, tenderness, and healing. As we hold that care and tenderness in our hearts, we turn our attention now to Michael Kelley, who's bringing us a message of hope and inspiration today. Michael, thank you so much for sharing yourself and the Troop online worship.
Thank you, Reverend Tara, for giving me the opportunity this morning, and thank you, troopers, for allowing me to share for a couple of minutes. I'd like to invite you to just breathe with me for a minute. This is a practice called square breathing, which encourages us to breathe in a steady rhythm and to slow our breathing down. I'll say more about that in a few minutes. What we can do is this. If you wish, while I'm playing this chord, take a fairly deep breath in through your nose if you can, just a comfortable breath. Maybe you'll feel your abdomen bulging out as the air goes into the bottom of your lungs, and that's good. When I'm playing this other chord, just hold that air in, if you will, in stillness for a couple of seconds. Then when this chord, a nice slow exhalation for about 3 seconds or so. Finally, with this chord, we hold in stillness with our lungs empty for a couple of seconds. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Breathe in. Exhale. Hold. That's something that we've done on occasion at Evensong, and it's trying to get into a rhythm with the breath. It's a little hard to do it here so far apart, but we try. Breath of life, prana, come into me. Ben aliento, fill me with spirit. Oxygen, you are welcome into every cell of my body, every cell of my body. I've been breathing through prayers like this for the last several weeks. This is an experiment of sorts. It was inspired by a study which was conducted at the University of Pavia, Italy, in 2001, and it was published in the British Medical Journal that year. These doctors actually wired Roman Catholics up to medical sensors, and they recorded their physical reactions while they recited the Hail Mary prayer over and over, 6 times per minute. They would say the entire prayer in one breath, and then they would repeat. And they did the same with Buddhists, chanting the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. The researchers concluded that as these people recited the prayers, slowing their breath down to 6 times per minute, other natural rhythms of their mind bodies, such as variations in heart rate, blood pressure, and blood flow to the brain, fell into the same rhythm. This breathing practice is called resonance breathing, and there's a lot of medical research which suggests that this way of breathing helps to regulate and balance the activity of our nervous system in ways that benefit our physical and mental well-being. We can do it intentionally through meditation, through prayer, through singing. This and many other amazing things about breathing are discussed in a new book, Breathe, by James Nestor. The discussion in this book is partly based on tradition and partly based on historical anecdotes, but largely on science. And the author has many, many things to say about the connection between breathing and overall well-being. Let's not take your whole day to listen to me talking about it, but please consider a few provocative suggestions, if you will. The average rate of breathing in our population has only barely been studied, but appears to be between 12 and 25 respirations, including inhale and exhale, per minute. Yet a lot of medical research suggests that a rate of breathing only half that fast, much of the time, would have benefits for everyone, including relaxation and serenity, better sleep, increased cardiovascular health, even relief from asthma. We are able to consciously change the way we breathe. Every aspect of the way that we breathe has effects on our well-being, even including which nostril, right or left, we breathe through at any moment. Spiritual practitioners have been saying this for several thousand years. Reading this book, Breathe, has convinced me that many medical researchers agree. When we breathe in, our cells take in only a small percentage of the oxygen that is contained in our breath. In his book, author Nestor profiles the people who he calls pulmonauts, singing coaches, athletic trainers, people who dive deep into the sea without air tanks and hold their breath for over 10 minutes, therapists who treat a host of illnesses. They're all teaching people how to get more oxygen into their cells by breathing less, breathing more slowly. I personally have become fairly obsessed with breathing. Our bodies know how to breathe without even our thinking about it, but I feel these days like every intentional breath that I take in is a sort of talisman against illness, against loneliness, against anger, against anxiety, against complacency. Every breath that I take is a miracle because my mind-body has always known how to breathe, and the myriad physiological interactions involved in this process of breathing are complex and elegant. We are breathing into a sort of wilderness this summer. It's a kind of wilderness where your own hometown looks different and harder to navigate. This wilderness looks like my city, but it's different because we can't see the smiles on strangers' faces because their faces are covered in masks. It's different because suddenly every human encounter includes not a warm hug, but a brief, silent reflection on the risks of giving someone else an illness that I might not know I have, an illness which might make it harder for them to breathe. A wilderness where I sit, comfortable and complacent in the privilege of breathing easy, yet every day hear prophetic voices outside in the street calling the call, I can't breathe. In every city, in every town. This summer, we're breathing into a recognition of the ways that systemic injustice steals the breath of many people in our society. That every full, luxurious, safe, easy breath that I take is a privilege that I did not earn. Something that came to me sometimes through grace, other times through the privilege of my color, my economic class, my sexual persuasion, my birthplace, the efforts of my parents, the efforts of my teachers. My full, luxurious, safe, easy breathing is a simple comfort. Does every simple comfort lead to complacency? The ability to turn away, to forget that others cannot breathe? Honestly, I don't know. And I'd like to breathe into a sense of constructive discomfort about that question this summer. We breathed into this, and I'd like to breathe on out of this reflection, if you'll breathe with me for a moment more. Breath of life, prana, come into me, ven aliento. Oxygen, you are welcome into every cell of my body, every cell of my body. Breathe in. How shall I breathe easy if others cannot breathe? Breathe out. A dream. Full, luxurious, safe, easy breathing. For every being, every color, every gender or no gender, every species, someday soon. Breathe in. Openness to change, to new ways of doing things, to new slogans, to saying yes, to saying no. Breathe out. What shall I do? Breathe in. How have I helped? How have I not helped? Breathe out. What shall I do? Blessed be. And thank you for your time.
Michael, I'm breathing in and out gratitude for your powerful reflection. Thank you so much. As you kind of breathe in and out after the energy of offering it, I hope you'll take a moment and see the gratitude that's coming in through the chat box. I offer up gratitude for all of the ways that so many of you support our life at Troop. Your gifts of time and talent and treasure that make things possible, like today's Troop Zoom worship service. Your financial gifts to the church go toward paying our staff. They go toward Troop paying our essential bills, so we can continue to be a place where people can find a faith that works for them. For those of you who have financial resources to share right now, please give to Troop. You can give online. The link will come up in the chat. You can text to give. You can send in a check. We'll be there to pick up the mail. Thank you so much for all the ways you support our life together at Troop. And this summer, the board is offering a special thank you each week to a super trooper And today, Terry Trindler, Troop Treasurer, will offer the Super Trooper Award on behalf of the Troop Board of Trustees.
Good morning, everyone. I am really happy to share with you, though I don't see his name on the list. Josh Tunnyman has done so much during this summer. If you haven't talked to him, he took up biking at the beginning of summer and has made it to like the ocean and back multiple times, which stuns me. But he started multiple Zoom groups for us. One I went to, particularly fun, a games night. He's come to many of our Wednesday night happy hours, he's the fastest Googler. If we have a trivia question, he will look it up before we finish debating what we think the answer is, give us the right answer. And he's been the tech along with me before Matthew P. Taylor came on board. So I very much appreciate his willingness to step up. So everyone feel free to either Facebook him or text him or email him during this week, because he'll probably be startled when he goes to Facebook and sees the award. Dun, dun, dun. And we on the board are always looking for more nominees. So thank you all.
And thank you, Terry, who is also a super trooper in her own right. So we have many volunteers who helped make today's service rich and meaningful. Simon J., thank you so much for the use of your evocative music before worship started and for offering the words for the chalice lighting. Taryn Sindaban, thank you for being our chat box greeter. Robert Hawley, much appreciation and gratitude for your spiritual journey story. I think you gave all of us a new phrase to use when it comes to talking about truth. And Michael, for your thoughtful and poignant message today. I know I'll be thinking with a lot more intention about my own breath in the days to come. So let's offer our gratitude, not just for the financial offering for the church, but really for all the ways that you all hold and tend to this precious community. Please say with me the response to the offering. For the ministries of the church and our community, we
bless our offering with love
and hope. We have multiple ways for you to continue to engage with your beloved community in the coming week. Two extra special opportunities, both on Wednesday morning at 11. If you would love to delve into the gifts of Russian choral music, Harlow Robinson is leading a Zoom chat on Russian choral liturgical music at 11 a.m. You may remember that Harlow gave his spiritual journey reflection last Sunday. And then also, if you're someone who has found Troop to be your spiritual and religious home, and you're ready to make that official, we are holding our first ever, we're calling it a hybrid, new member welcome. And we'll be gathering new members safely on the back patio of Troop on Wednesday, July 22nd at 5:30 with an opportunity to sign the membership book. And we'll show a new member welcome video in our service on August 2nd. So if you would love to make your commitment and your connection with Troop Official, send me a note and we'll get you signed up to take part in our first ever hybrid new member welcome. We also have a weekly Safer at Home Justice action, and you can find that on Facebook. I'll put it in the chat box. You can also see it each week on our webpage. So now, if you have lit a chalice, if you've lit a candle, now's the time to bring it forward. And we extinguish this flame, but its light goes with us into the world. And may you all carry into this week a sense of your breath, of well-being, of renewed purpose to take your faith and your good works out into the world, bringing courage and peace and beauty and connection wherever you go. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen and blessed be. We'll hear a postlude from Chris. We invite you to stay afterward for our coffee hour and some directed conversation today based on today's beautiful reflection by Michael.